Hey everybody, so it's time to do another Enforcer Hall of Fame video, and today this is a guy that I certainly remember watching. He was a player in the 90s but played through the 2000s and was somebody that I absolutely remember, especially later in his career. Very, very tough customer, somebody who was willing to fight just about anybody, and that is Donald Brashear. So Donald Brashear played 1,025 games, regular season games in his NHL career. Over 1,000 games for this type of player is quite an accomplishment, and he was in the league for a long, long time. A lot of these guys only last 5 or 6 seasons and then kind of fade away. Even some of the best enforcers, only stick around for 10 to 12 years, but Brashear was there, starting in 1993 with Montreal all the way until the 2009-10 season. So that is a, 16, 17-year NHL career. That's a very, very good career for this type of player in the NHL. And he lasted so long, not just as an enforcer, but because he could play as well. He had 85 career goals and 120 career assists for 205 points. So obviously those aren't remarkable numbers. Those aren't standout offensive numbers. But it's not like he was a guy who was scoring 1 goal and 2 assists for 3 points on the season and then having 200 penalty minutes. He wasn't. He was a better player than that, which is part of the reason why he was able to stay in the league so long. A lot of times, these fighters come in, and if they only score 3 or 4 points a season, but they're there to fight, they only last 5 or 6 seasons, and then someone else comes along and takes their job who either has better offensive upside or is younger or is just a new kid on the block. But when you can produce offensively as well as play this enforcer role, then you establish yourself a little bit more as an everyday player, as an important player to the team, not just physically, but also as a player, and you last a lot longer in the league. And that's what we saw with Donald Brashear. Because he had 205 career points, he also had 2,634 career penalty minutes. Over 2,600 penalty minutes. That is a lot. So over the course of his career, he had 216 career fights, not including preseason. If I included preseason, that number would be definitely over 220, probably up near 230. But I only count playoffs and regular season. So 216 career fights. The most fights he ever had in one season was in 1997-98 with the Vancouver Canucks. He had 26 fights that year, and his best offensive season also came with the Vancouver Canucks. It was in 2000-2001 where he had 28 points. 5 seasons in his career, he went over the 200 penalty minute mark, and 13 seasons in his career, he went over the 100 penalty minute mark. So he was a 100 penalty minute guy every year, oftentimes a 200 penalty minute guy, and absolutely no stranger to dropping the gloves, willing to scrap, pretty much any time against anybody. He was a very, very tough guy. Donald Brashear came into the league, and I did not know this because I remember Brashear with obviously Philly, Washington, the Rangers. I was watching hockey by that point. I knew he played for the Canucks, but I actually thought he started with the Canucks. I did not know that he started with the Montreal Canadiens. And he came into the league starting in 1993 and stayed with Montreal for a few years through the 1996-97 season with the Canadiens before moving. He was traded to Vancouver. So I didn't know he actually started with Montreal, but then he went to Vancouver, which obviously I knew he played for, and that's where he really broke out. He became a regular in the lineup in Vancouver. He developed a little more offensive touch and started putting some points on the board as well as fighting a lot with the Canucks, and I think he really made a name for himself with Vancouver, where he played from 1997 to 2002. Now we get to the teams that I actually remember watching him play for. And that is the Philadelphia Flyers from 2002 to 2006, And then from 2006 to 2009, he went to the Washington Capitals. And then he finished his career with the New York Rangers. He only played there for one season, and he wasn't a regular in the lineup on that team. I believe he only played 30-something games that season, and then he was out of the league. But certainly a very long career for Brashear, and he lasted around in the NHL a lot longer than most players of his type do. And he certainly, has nothing to be ashamed about. His time just ran out at the end, but by that point he had been in the league for 15 plus years, and it was getting down there. Anyway, he played. He stayed with teams for a decent amount of time. He wasn't the kind of guy who got shipped around like some of these enforcers who kind of bounce team to team and have a new team every year and type thing. No, teams wanted him on their in their lineup and on their roster. And he came in Montreal, never got fully into it with the Canadiens, but once he got to Vancouver, he was there for a while. Spent a long time in Philly, spent a decent amount of time in Washington. He made himself very, very valuable to the teams that he was on. So Donald Brashear absolutely deserves this to be in the Enforcer Hall of Fame. Over 200 career fights, over 2,600 career penalty minutes, also over 200 career points. Very good fourth-line player, very, very tough guy, and he is the next inductee now in my Enforcer Hall of Fame. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.